Welcome to the Marketing Millennials, the No BS Marketing Podcast. I'm Daniel Murray, and join me for unfiltered conversations with the brains behind marketing's coolest companies. The one request I tell our guests, stories or it didn't happen. Get ready to turn the up.
Events are about people, and that's the best way when you're selling in B2B. $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 of contracts. You can't do it in e-commerce online or with some deep fake of AI. Like, you got to meet that person, you got to talk to them, and events are a natural environment for that.
Want to end the year on a high note? Impact.com helps marketers in retail, financial services, consumer goods, and B2B crush their goals well before the year ends. Talk about an ego boost. Use affiliate marketing, influencer campaigns, and customer referrals to finish 2024 strong. Check out impact.com/millennial today. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Millennials. Today's episode is a special one. It was recorded live at Marketingland Festival 2024 with the one and only Julius, the expert in all things events. We dove deep into how to create unforgettable event experiences from strategy to execution and shared some key insights that you could take your events to the next level. If you're eager for more of these gems, all the sessions from Marketingland 2024 will be available inside our Marketingland membership, crafted for experienced marketers at growing companies and startups. Check the show notes for the link on how to apply. Now let's get into the episode.
I am here with, I might say, the king of events. He has been around talking about events for years now. He knows events backwards. He's seen it all, from trade shows to virtual events to live events to roundtables, whatever you want to call an event. He's seen it all. So I'm excited to chat all about events today with the king of events, Julius. Welcome to Marketingland.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. What an excitement to be with you in an event talking about events.
The number one question I want to talk about, let's just get right into the conversation because I know the chat wants to hear about it, but why are CMOs and marketing teams obsessed and excited about events right now?
This has been going for a while. I like to say that a lot of CMOs and marketing teams got to know events better during the pandemic, right? It was forced on them to a certain extent. Events like were around before. Actually, in 2019, there were a peak for what regards in person, but there was still like a stigma that events are tough to do, they're not measurable, tough to say what's the ROI of like this exchange of fresh air that we do when we talk to each other and we call an event. So, they came with a lot of baggage that was cleared out during the pandemic when a lot of CMOs said, wait a minute, things are working here. People are connecting with each other. We're having, a lot of great results. And it's actually very measurable, especially in a tech environment. Now, obviously, when we went back to in-person, everybody wanted to learn now, okay, we got our degree in virtual events, we want our PhD in person, as I like to say now, and understand how can we have that same feeling of being together that we had during the pandemic now in person. And obviously the whole industry swung in a sense to swung back to in person. And so from virtual, everybody wanted to be in person. Now the challenge obviously is for CMOs, how do we scale this? How do we make this happen? And there's a ton of opportunity today. The platforms have got incredibly better in terms of giving you a ton of data. And it's much easier than it used to be 5-6 years ago to measure whatever is happening at events, with AI as well being a big factor in this. And so a bunch of data that in the past used to be, just like too much and people wouldn't look at it. Now you upload it to ChatGPT or whatever you're using, and it gives you a lot of context in terms of that first party data that you're getting through events and what is the impact of that data on decision to buy or pipeline or ROI, however you want to call it. And so, the over sort of extension of technology is now giving us tools to make events measurable. And obviously, this is very exciting because I'm sure you're going to have a ton of amazing speakers during the event. Your audience has been listening to amazing speakers, but you can't fake events. Events are real. Events are about people. And that's, the best way when you're selling in B2B, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 of contracts. You can't do it in e-commerce online or with some deep fake of AI. Like, you got to meet that person. You got to talk to them, and events are a natural environment for that.
And now more than ever, though, and you would probably agree, before we actually had coworkers. We had some sort of happy hours and things that we had in person. So events were a nice little getaway to do business. But now more than ever, with COVID happening, and a lot of remote work happening, like people having a sense of loneliness and a sense of not being around people. That's why events are even more and more exploding right now, because people are lonely in their job and they don't get to connect with people, and connection is lost in this world right now. So how are you seeing that in the environment?
Yeah, I hit the nail right on the head right there. I mean, this is exactly what is happening. From a business perspective, if you're looking at business events in general, and I want to redefine what business events were. Let me tell your audience a story. It wasn't an event like a business industry event. It was 3 p.m., right? 3 p.m. on a show floor at a booth at 3 p.m. There was a DJ blasting music, and, probably 20, 25, I don't want to categorize age, but not as fresh as they used to be, people dancing in the middle of the trade show to a DJ. And if you told me 10 years ago, I was like, you're probably going to go these people are crazy. They were having a happy hour. So what business is today is changing dramatically, even at events. And so if you're thinking about, here's my USB stick, learn more about us, that's not going to work anymore, right? If you do those type of activations. But what I'm trying to say is that, yes, absolutely, right? Remote offices, hybrid workplaces with 30% of in-person, where do you get together? Events are becoming a natural place. I'm saying events are the new office to a certain extent, where you don't used to have an office, distributed teams. I interviewed Nick Mehta, the CEO of Gainsight, and they do an amazing user conference called Pulse. And he said, we have 20, 30, 40, 50 people sent by the same company just to go there, because it's more than just a party, right? There's a learning experience, there's content, there's the networking, business generation, and there's the entertainment as well. And so this becomes the new offsite for a lot of teams, where you're actually doing business, but you're also learning and having fun.
That's actually a really good point, because when I was doing Marketingland in person last year, and hopefully we do it again in person, but a lot of people would email me and say, hey, I want to do this as a company offsite. Do you have any packages for more employees? Because we want to bring our employees once a year to a new location, learn marketing, and outside we can also bond. So that's actually a really good point of more and more people are using this as offsites as well. But I think one of the questions people are asking as well is, do events actually work? Do they actually have an ROI? I know CMOs are excited about it because they want to get in person. People are excited because they want to get in person, but do they have an ROI? Do they work?
Absolutely. Well, first off, for those that missed it, I follow an amazing podcast. It's called the Marketing Millennials podcast, and you interviewed me on that. And we had an interesting conversation about that, right? And you actually said something that has stuck with me after that conversation in terms of where events are in the funnel. When you attend an event, your level of intent is different from when you interface yourself with any other type of activity online, I would say, at least online. So even a virtual event from a company has a lot way more intent than downloading a white paper or, interacting with an ad or reading a newsletter. The level of intent, if we're in a business environment right now, the shift that I'm following with my clients, they are creating events to move business. There's a sort of intent on both the planner side and the attendees to do business. And so once you attend an event, it's kind of yes, I want to do this. No, you don't want to do only that, but you want to close more business. I'm sure a lot of the audience here listening would have attended Inbound. Yes, the content is amazing, but you're there for the next opportunity. You're there to speak business with someone, find the next supplier. As a supplier, you're there to get more business. And so there's something about the ecosystem that is built to do more business. Now, we can say that you can do it in an awkward way and you can do it in a more sort of frictionless way that's more natural. But like I feel that from an ROI standpoint, just like the setup of events is just so powerful compared to other marketing assets. But then there's research, right? There's research from GTM Partners and Splash. GTM Partners is someone that I follow a lot, and they introduced last year event-led as one of the key motions, right, for events. And that's a big recognition for the events industry that you didn't used to happen before. And so they did a research together, and they're saying, that events have, generate 3 times the pipeline sometimes, a 20% increase in win rate. They deliver 10 times more ROI if you compare attendees versus non-attendees of events. And so, there's data across the board. There is like consistently events are the number one channel for B2B companies. If you look at companies, tech companies with $100 million budget plus, their number one channel is third-party events. They go and exhibit at trade shows, at conferences, they sponsor. So this is what they do because they recognize the value of it. Again, it depends wildly on what you operate with. But right now, all the data is in support of events being extremely effective.
One of my favorite under-talked about points, and I want to get your opinion about this, is we're in an age where content matters a lot, and events is one of the best ways to get clips of content of so many different people, of so many different attendees. So you can get UGC content, you can get expertise content, you can interview your clients, your customers, your potential customers. So what do you think about this moment? Because this wasn't a moment probably 10 years ago because social media wasn't as big, TikTok wasn't as big, Instagram wasn't as big, video wasn't as big. So how are you seeing that in the event industry as well as a used to just create a bunch of content?
It's gigantic, right? So if you think in terms of, first off, like the type of content you're generating when you're at events, like what we're doing right now, like, this is unique to what we're doing and people are looking at it real time and interacting in the chat. It's back and forth. I'm going to take on some Q&As by the end of this. And so it's very co-created. It's very unique. So the type of content that you generate during events is probably comparable to a live podcast recording, right? That has an even more added element of interactivity. What does it mean for you? It means that it's also a very unique piece of content that you can then spread on social, on newsletters and the likes. And so it has a value that social networks, there was a research on the LinkedIn algorithm, and we spend a lot of time on LinkedIn between the two of us. There's that LinkedIn sort of rewards content created at events versus non-events. So there's definitely a bigger echo because people see the novelty of it. They see it's not being created in a fake environment. It's actually real and is happening at the moment and it's now. It's not something you recorded 6 months ago and now you're repurposing. Then the content opportunity, if you think about what you can do with a session like this, we measured it at Bullpush, like a 1 hour session, like the one we're having right now, it's usually around 100 to 121 individual insights that you can repackage, you can create some short videos from, you can create exposts, you can do whatever you audio, it's all up to you, right? There's so much that you can create because like you're getting all these people to come together and you know how difficult it is to get people for just one interview. Now think about having 20, 50 speakers all in one place and that content that you can create with it. And people expect it. We have some statistics that say that 38% of people, especially attending virtual events, catch up on demand with the content that gets generated. And this is like the biggest opportunity you have with events today, right? Because you want to go to an event to connect with people, but then you want to have the opportunity to catch up on demand with all the content that was generated there. It's like, that's another thing. We attend events to connect with people today as opposed to listen to someone speak. That's important for everybody to understand.
What's up, marketers? Want to finish 2024 on top? With Impact.com, you can scale through affiliate marketing, drive engagement with influencers, and boost customer loyalty with referrals. Don't let the year end without hitting your goals. Visit impact.com/millennial and take control of your year-end strategy. That's impact.com/millennial.
One question I have for you is, why are events so expensive? Like, how do you get around that events are expensive? talking point?
Listen, there's no easy way around that. They are more expensive than doing what we're doing right now. Think about booking a venue, getting the food, all of those things. And in the past 3 years, we've seen the worst inflationary sort of environment ever, probably in the events industry. We've seen some prices shooting up. So it's not going to be easy. But as an event marketer, I do work with event marketing teams that completely ignore the basics of planning events. They just go, oh, that venue is awesome. Let's go there. And I'm like, when is your event? And it's 2 months. And I'm like, are you starting, like, is this your lead time? Is it 2 months? Like, are you sure? Like, lead times are very important. Why am I saying that? Very important in minimizing budget. The earlier you commit, the less you're going to spend. And this is something that, in the FOMO, YOLO type of life that we're living in, an executive comes in and says, oh, let's do an event in 3 weeks. Well, you're going to spend a lot of money. You can still do it. We want to come to Vegas. Vegas is being booked into 2030 right now, right? So we're looking at 6-7 years ahead. People are booking Vegas right now. So, you got to make sure you make your decision in time. You have enough time to plan it. And then you have to be a tough negotiator, right? You have to know stuff like attrition clauses and stuff like that, or hire someone that does it for you. There's people that book venues for you. If you can do it, you don't do it. Don't try to do it. This is my message. Because I see a lot of damage when marketing teams think they can do events without having a professional event planner or someone or an agency that supports them in the process, right? So having enough time, working with people that understand, how to do these things, and then working with local sort of authorities that promote destinations. They're called CVBs, Convention Visitor Bureaus. And so if you're planning an event in, say, Los Angeles or Newport Beach for 1,000 people, you reach out to visit Newport Beach and you say, what can you help me with? Can you help me get a better rate for my hotel? Can you help me create amazing activations for our guests? What are the tours that we should do? Can you put me in touch with the restaurant? And all of a sudden, all of that cost that it's all on you, you can share. These people, that's their job. They do it for free and it's available for you to save a ton of money. We're talking sometimes 30, 40, 50% of your budget that you thought.
One thing I also want to know is there's also low-cost ways to do events. What are some ways that people could start today at a smaller scale to then eventually get up to that conference level or the conference level? People always think that it's either conference or bust. I don't have to either do a conference or it's nothing. But there are so many different ways and so many different things that are classified events that are so successful, like private dinners, webinars, virtual events, virtual meetups, roundtables. There's so many ways that are really cost effective that you could do at low cost and have high values. Could you go into that a little deeper?
Totally. So think about, creating an event around South by Southwest or creating an event around CES or even smaller ones, right? It doesn't have to be that big because then you have an opportunity not to get people to travel because that is one of the biggest stumbling blocks today. Affording to travel, having the time to travel to an event, especially if your event is small. There's not going to be enough people to do that. And so think, how can I leverage people driving other people to a destination to run my own thing? And it could be as simple as a dinner. It could be as simple as, as you said, a panel or a live podcast recording or whatever it is. You find venues that are desperate to get business, new venues. That's a tip. I used to plan 3 events in London in another era. We used to be 200-300 people. I used to get the venue for free, food and drinks all for free because I was bringing them people on a Tuesday and they wanted business. They wanted more business. And so they would give me 3-4 drinks for free for everybody and food for free. And they would then keep on spending, So there's stuff like that you can think and be creative with. But at the end of the day, you got to give them a reason why they have to be in the room. So the fact it's free doesn't have to mean that the event is cheap from a content or value perspective. You have to really deliver because then when these people come, the impression they're going to have about you, it's very, very heavy, right? It's loaded. And so you have to show up with good content, good opportunity to connect, and good entertainment and food.
One thing you just said that I want to double down on is you have to deliver. I feel like the expectation of a great event, of someone paying their hard-earned money or taking hours out of their day to come to you is a lot for them. So the value needs to be way higher. So how could you think about this? I feel like you could get away with a cheap event probably a while back, but now the level to get someone out of their house, dress, go to your event is higher. One, it does show intention of your audience. How do you get that expectation up? What do you tell event people to level up their game to make sure the event is great?
I feel that one of the biggest opportunities right now to create value is to actually connect people, connect real peers in a natural spam-free environment. How precious is that, Daniel? I mean, think about it. Like a lot of the noise that you get when you get to events like that. Oh, hi, can I introduce myself? Here's my business card. Like, the cringe level is already through the roof, and like you want to die. And like, I don't know about you. I'm an introverted person. Like, if someone like even tries to come and talk to me, I'll like start to run away and hide. Like, I don't like that. And so, for me to be in an intimate environment where I have, I don't know, the top 25 marketers right now in the country, right? Or something like that. Can you imagine the value of that? And having the same peers. So especially if you're trying to minimize the budget implications of that, connecting the right people together in a spam-free environment, this is one of the biggest value prop that I'm seeing right now. Because the industry, like what is happening with so many events all over the place is that you're either very niche or you're super huge. Anything and everything in between, like if you're like kind of a 2,000, 3,000 type of event, you're being squished basically by the bigger guys or by the smaller guys. They're eating up because like 4,000, think about it, 4,000 people, I have to spend $1,200 ticket, then I have to spend $1,000 plane, $1,000 hotel, all the expenses, transportation, all $500. It's like $4,000 expense. And if it's like kind of a good event, like how am I going to get the reassurance that I'm going to learn something new, I'm going to meet the people that I want to meet and have some fun? I'm going to go to the bigger one that gives me that security because there's going to be enough people and enough budget to make that happen. So how do you compete with that? By planning something super small, intimate with the right people without being cringy and by creating real connections with others.
I want to ask a question that I bet people are thinking in the crowd, but is how do you measure events? I mean, this is the question of the ages.
It's all good. So how do you measure events? What are we trying to do with the event? I mean, I know this is like a usual kind of very boring high level question, but it's an important one. Like, what are we trying to achieve? Like, where are we in the funnel? Are we sort of trying to do some awareness? And so like now you have tools that I particularly like. One of the, especially if you do, like I'm sure there's going to be a ton of brands here listening to this. There's cameras that you can point at people and give you the sentiment of people. They're tracking whoever's passing by your activation or your booth and stuff like that. So you're now able offline to measure a lot of the impressions, right, that you would get online. And so there's tools now that give you that depth, and they're not expensive. It's like probably $500 to $1,000 to have a camera like that at your booth, and like you just scan everybody passing by. There's no let me scan you type of awkward moment. I mean, there's always going to be there. Then obviously, if you're trying to generate something more than awareness, and we're being super high level here, Daniel, this is a conversation for 6 hours probably. You want to be focused on, if you're in the decision stage, you want to get those appointments in, you want to track people to your activation, you want to start having conversations with them. Here's my tip, what I'm telling people: choose the right events. Choose the right events to be at with the right audience. Don't waste time on like, maybe there's going to be someone there. You got to be 100% sure that people are going to be there. Going back to your question, how do you measure? You try to get as many people as possible within the right event to pass through your booth. And, it's hard scanning of these people, having conversations, understanding where they are and what they're doing. Some incredibly nice technology that is coming right now, Daniel, very cool, that people are using. It's, AI technology that listens to your conversation while you're having it at the booth. And it's real time uploading summary to your CRM. And all of a sudden you have all that data that used to be in the mind of the salespeople immediately pushed to the CRM with follow-up actions. There's like at least 3 startups building something like this right now. And so I'm very excited about that. That adds immediate tangibility because you have sort of a measurable interaction that you had, which could be, compared to a sales call, you're having it at the booth. It's moving through the CRM, so you have that touch point very clear, and then it becomes tangible pipeline of what you generated or not. Like the problem traditionally is being like, how do we capture whatever is happening at the event, and how do we measure that? Well, now we have tools to capture, whether it's impressions, whether it's a conversation that we're having. We're pushing all of that to our CRM, and then it follows the pipeline. Then there's stuff that we have to do afterwards as well. We have to connect in the right way with people. It's not like, oh, it was great to meet you, whatever. Are you ready to buy our product? Right? Is that even a thing now? But you still get a ton of those emails, right? I was supposed to go this week to SaaStr in San Francisco and I couldn't go because of a last minute problem. I'm getting like 6, 7 emails from people that think I'm there saying, oh, that was an awesome conversation that we had together. Like, that you can measure that crap. What you can measure is when you're having an intentional, purposeful strategy that takes care of the stage where you're at and implements the tools, the right technology to capture all of that and sends it back to the CRM. And then it becomes just another marketing activity. There's no variables there.
I think that's so true. I mean, you can't do what everybody else is doing with all these emails. I'm getting emails now because I'm attending inbound and speaking there of, let's meet. I'm getting bombarded by like brands that say, stop by my booth, I want to meet you. And it's pretty overwhelming that I don't even want to even go to any booths because I'm getting so many people reaching out before I even step foot. But I know I could talk to you forever. I know we only had 30 minutes here. I want to hype you up quickly before we go into the chat and answer Q&A. But if you are an events person or want to learn about events, Julius is your guy. Follow him on LinkedIn. He also has a cool community, Bold Push, where he talks about events all day. Events are the thing. We're doing Marketingland for a reason because we love events. We're going to go live again because we love events. We know events work. They show intention of the audience.
Thanks so much for listening. Keep tuning in to hear more great insights from the coolest marketers from around the world. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and follow the Marketing Millennials podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, I would greatly appreciate you giving us a 5-star rating. It helps bring more marketers into our community.